On a horoscope pamphlet or something. This guy's divided into 4 different sections here. It's called self-divination. This guy's finding himself. See? Now, these 2 smaller paintings are like the other small one. The background's wiped on, and then cartoons transferred on there, and then it's painted over that. Real simple way to do it. Real effective way. Make a lot of money selling these. That's what I'm going to do when I get older. Okay, I don't know how to get you all the picture. This is a bronze of that. When this was finished, they scanned it and then made this. This is scanned with a computer. This particular painting here is certainly a remark on abstract expressionism. It's called ball-peen hammer expression. The ball-peen hammer is a hammer that's got a round end on it for beating metal. So this guy's painting with a hammer. He's beating the paint to death with a hammer. This thing screams cartoon.
You choose the frames for each one?
Pardon?
You choose the frames for each one?
Absolutely, I designed it, yeah.
This one is painted more in the style of the big ones?
Yes. This is 3 coats of paint, 3 coats of paint. These paintings like this are so time-consuming, you question rationality on things like this. Yes.
Is some of the criticism that you get to New York come because you're a California artist also?
That's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question because there is a reaction in New York to California. New York is very formal. They still have that shackle around their neck of Europe. They took over the crown of the capital of the art world after World War II, and they want to maintain that sophistication. Sophistication is what is important in New York. Every other art facility in the United States tries to emulate New York. California is fortunate in the fact is they don't do it so well. They fail to emphasize the sophistication in New York, and that's the beauty of California. The people in New York are very, very aware of California, and they know that Los Angeles is creeping up on them as the world capital. They'll say this themselves. So when I come there with this kind of work, they're really quick to judge us poorly, you know. They think if this is the thing that's coming, forget it, you know. They have to deal with Andrew Shea and Mike Kelly and John Baldessari and a lot of very famous artists coming out of California and Los Angeles. But they see me and they know that I'm not going anywhere. They know I'm dead in the water. This ain't gonna catch on. Ain't nobody can do this. So, anyway, I've been showing in New York since the mid-'80s, and I got a big following in New York, but you know, there's a resistance to this stuff. This just doesn't look sophisticated. There's nothing sophisticated about this. New York mistakes sophistication for inability. They think being inhibited is being sophisticated. And Mike Kelly and other artists don't try to spread that sophistication. You know? So California is a very, very important place. Very important place, not only in the United States, but in the world of art. But California, like everyone else, is tied down to politics and raising money and whatnot. So I don't know.
Your dream has this Los Angeles show on it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there was just one in Paris 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. The most famous artist in the world in the 1870s and 1880s was Ernest Massenet. Ever heard of him? Has anyone ever heard of Ernest Massenet? Most famous artist in the world. This sculpture of him was in the Louvre. Turn of the century, no one heard of him. They took that statue and put it in the graveyard. Okay. So I don't know what to tell you about this. If you're an artist and think I'll be successful posthumously after death, you're kidding yourself. If you're not alive and avenge yourself, you're over. There was 3 great art shows in the West Coast history. Number 1 was the 1915 Pan Pacific Exposition in San Francisco. The first real incredible art show in the West Coast. The second most important art show on the West Coast was 1966, Ed Keenholz. The third most important art show in the history of the West Coast was Helter Skelter Show with Paul Schimmel. I was one of the artists in it. I had some questionable material that was misinterpreted, and I got picketed by women's groups and gays, and so Paul Schimmel said, Robert, you brought in more than half the people into this museum for this show, but I've never had so much trouble in my life, and you'll never show here again. So, I don't know, I just function in this thing kind of not hurt anybody's feelings, I don't know what runs the art world. I know money runs it. Paul Schimmel has got to bring in a lot of money at MoCA. He went to Tony Shafrazi and he said, Tony, I need to get some money for MoCA. And Tony, that's my gallery in New York, Tony. Tony says, I will get you the underwriters for MoCA, but you have to have Robert Williams, a show for Robert Williams. And Paul said, over my dead body. So I have that exclusive feeling. You can't question it. It's unquestionable. You can't fight it. You just have to function in it. One of these paintings in here was bought by Ed Ruscha, one of my good friends. I don't know. I'm going from one thing to another, trying to make a living. So I don't know. Is there any other questions?
Tell us about it.
This is a simple metaphor of right angles. This is taking just a simple right angle and making an emotional expression out of it. Okay? This is a universe made up of quick turns. And this young, attractive woman here is trying to be pulled into this thing. These characters that think only in this edged spiral are trying to pull her into this multiple landscape of quick right turns. That's all there is to this. It's just taking a theme and wearing it out. Taking it to an entire degree here. There's about 25 landscapes in this. No two are alike. It took a lot of work. The part of it, the hardest part of this painting is making the foreground segue into the background. I put a lot of energy trying to make this step off properly. If that hadn't worked, it would have been really goofy looking. It would have looked like two things overlapping. An enormous amount of time had been putting the figures in and the landscape in there, so it did blend in like that. These things are like an obsession. They're like an obsession. I don't own the painting owns me. You get started on it, you got to finish this thing. You don't worry about nothing. It's just this thing is an obsession. And that's the way these things get done. It's not like this is calculated for an audience, and I'll make a killing. It's like I got started on this thing, what am I going to do? When I was young and egotistical, I thought I was going to have the world by the ass. And I thought, well, I'll learn to be slick. And my time passed, and I wasn't the Napoleon I thought I was going to be, but I developed the work habit. So everything went away but the work habit. So you see a product of this. I mean, I could win the lottery and I'd go for a couple of cruises and get in some trouble or whatnot, but in 6 months I'd be back at this. This owns me now. I know how to mix the paint. I know what I need. I think in paintings. It's a neuroses. Yeah, the joy is I'm in it and I know there's a destination to go to. This is done very fast, done on cotton canvas. One coat, done in washes. The name of this painting is Natal Gluttony. Stewardship of the earth starts in the bedroom. This is about overpopulation. A concern I have, and a lot of people don't share it with me. This is a cartoon of Jaws eating the world. And the brain work of the Jaws is a maternity ward excreting children, as it eats all the natural resources. Think about this when you're on the freeway. Now, I don't want to go into some moral lesson here. A lot of people think that overpopulation is really not an issue. I always felt it was. I think overpopulation is the key problem to